Miss Mary Cantwell. Thank you all for joining. And this will be a lighthearted discussion about teaching as a profession today and as a profession going on in the future. Right now, there's been so many developments alongside quality education and especially the fourth sustainable development goal that I think it's very important to, and we at the Education Hub think it's very important uh, to examine education from the field and from the perspective of teaching as a whole. So without further ado, let's begin. Just for a brief mention on what our organization it is and what the Global Collab is. So the Global Collab, it's a network of change makers and teens around the world, teens, mentors, staff around the world that focus on projects that help attain the Sustainable Development Goals, the 2030 UN goals, through the video challenge, through weekly hub meetings like the ones for our education hub. Alongside this, we have 10 others, including inequality, in the climate, plastics, and so on and so forth. And teams are able to specialize in these hubs and work on projects such as drives, such as social media campaigns, and various other projects to help attain those goals related to their hubs. We also send a yearly teen delegation to the United Nations. I went last year, and we're able to participate head on in discussions that have to do with quality education, which have to do with so many issues relating to the collab. And it's really a chance for us to grow our advocacy and play our part in the international stage.
And really quickly to add, on June 7th of this year, we're going to be hosting a little bit of a conference in the Northern Virginia area. It's going to be at a new venue from George Mason University, and it's going to be great. It's going to be climate focused, and it's going to really have like a lot of intersections with other SDGs. So, like how climate change affects hunger, how we can be using education for climate change. So, if that sounds interesting to you, you should definitely be there. We're going to have universities, other nonprofits, a bunch of stakeholders and a bunch of teams to really talk about projects and our kind of moves going forward. So if that sounds interesting to you, make sure to come by and keep up with the collab on social media as we continue to post more information.
Absolutely. And then I think more details will be in the chat as they come. So just for a bit of context about us in the Education Hub, so I'm Arush, me and Sonia are two of the ambassadors for the Education Hub, and we help facilitate some of the projects and some of the meetings every week. And our work mainly has to do with SDG 4, and some of our past projects have included an essay contest, our quality learning local impact essay contest for ages 13 through 18. We've also put out various social media campaigns, and in the past, we've also conducted literacy tutoring in Boulder, Colorado, and in various other locations as well. We do believe that education is at the forefront of so many issues around the world. I think it stands at the intersection of the around the world of these issues, and whatever part we can play in attaining so, we absolutely do. And now I'll leave it to Joao, our wonderful hub mentor, one of our hub mentors, to introduce our two guests for today.
Yeah, hi guys, nice to see you here. So I'm João, I'm from Brazil, but I live in New York. I met the Global Collab last year in the HLPF, and I fell in love about this organization, and I really wanted to be part of it. So that's why I decided to join, and I became a mentor for the Educational Hub. So today, for this conversation, we're gonna have two amazing speakers. The first one, it's Miss Mary Cantwell. So she started teaching in 1992 after graduating from American University. Over the years, she has decided most of her career to teaching. Oh, sorry, let me add me people here. Ooh, yeah. So, she dedicated most of her career to teaching early childhood education, later earning her master's degree in early childhood education from the Catholic University of America. She also gained valuable experience teaching at Montessori Preschool before joining Arlington Public Schools, where she has been teaching kindergarten at Abington Elementary School for the past 13 years. So, in addition, she holds an ESO endorsement and has extensive experience working with children with special needs. Her passion for education is centered on inspiring curiosity and fostering a lifelong love of learning in every student she teaches. And The second one is Mr. Jordan Fields, our also mentor for the Educational Hub. So Jordan was born in Chicago, Illinois. Jordan is an emerging scholar and educator who aspires to become a professor of urban sociology and Urban planner. He earned a dual bachelor degree in liberal studies at urban planning from Colorado College, where his senior thesis explored queer third spaces. He's gonna explain a little bit later. So, conducting research across multiple countries, his academic and professional journey has taken him across diverse international contexts, including the United Kingdom, Spain, and Turkey, where he worked as a bilingual English language teacher and supported students in bilingual education and Cambridge English exam preparation. Currently, Jordan is completing his Master of Science in Sociology and at New Mexico State University, while also earning his bilingual teaching license through the Illinois State Board of Education. He continues to work with as an ESL tutor and is deeply committed to his long-term goal of teaching and researching urban sociology with a focus on Black and Latinx queer feminist literature. So yeah, nice to have you guys here.
Thank you, Zhao. Thank you, Zhao. And now we're gonna transition in. We're gonna let Sonia segue us into our first question for Miss Cantwell and for Jordan as well, which has to do with keeping teachers motivated. Sonia, you can take it over.
Yep. So basically, United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 4, quality education. It's really about providing inclusive, equitable, quality education for everyone by 2030. But it's obviously very important that teachers are incredibly vital to this goal, and they're quite literally the backbone of this goal. So the landscape of education has really been changing drastically over the last 10 to 20 years as educational technology has really shaped classrooms, and then in general technology and social media and all of these other um, facets have really shaped students' lives over and how they kind of go about childhood and adolescence, as well as how they approach the classroom and how they learn within the classroom. So this has made teachers' jobs definitely uh, more challenging and more adaptable in many ways. And what's really important is keeping teachers motivated to make sure that achieving SDG number 4 today is not only about the students, but also about equipping and supporting our teachers to guide our youth in today's environment. So that really guides us to our first question, which is what keeps teachers motivated to keep teaching? If there's any time you've ever had maybe a bad experience in the classroom or you've ever felt more down, well, how have you stayed motivated or what keeps you motivated? And how can we all support you in staying motivated?
I can go first. Yeah, it's a really good question and something that I think we think about. We don't know that we're thinking about it because it keeps us every year not deciding to do a different career. But I think that's one of the reasons why I love early childhood education is because I see that same curiosity in young children that they just want to know about the world. They haven't been swayed one way or the other, and they're looking for us to teach them and to open up the world for them so that they can make decisions. And I think that's why, answering their questions, keeping that curiosity, reading to them, because if they're only focused in one area, all little children love music, science, reading, math. There's no, every child will say they're good at everything at that young age. And I think that's what keeps me motivated in early childhood is I want to keep that curiosity to say, wow, yeah, you are really good at science before they grow up and think, oh, I can't do that, before grades or things get in the way. And so I think that's what motivates me to keep going.
I would say as for me, what keeps me motivated as an educator is definitely to kind of like equip them to like the best of their ability and also to like guide them along their like educational journey. Like I know I specialize with mostly secondary education, but I think once they reach to that level of that curiosity, building from kindergarten through eighth grade and reaching kind of like the secondary level of like expanding and also supporting them And that can be done in many ways. And I think what keeps me motivated is to kind of see like the next generation to kind of like be very passionate about different things that I haven't even like kind of been taught with growing up, and also kind of like different education journeys beyond the secondary education realm, and kind of seeing those kind of develop, and also kind of equipping them with many tools, and then also kind of like doing things with along the lines of like trying to like envelop those skills so they be prepared into the adult world as well.
Thank you
Awesome. And
so
then
much for those fantastic answers. And sorry, Arush, I'll let you continue.
no worries. And like I guess sort of as a bit of a follow up, are there times that you guys feel like demotivated or like are there and how do you sort of power through that? Like how how does that usually settle in as a teacher? Are there ever times where you feel that things have, deteriorated or you think that uh you don't really feel sort of a sense to like or you feel demotivated, I guess.
I think it's when other factors come into play, when they say, oh, yeah, yeah, we know kids are motivated, but you need to teach this curriculum. And so it's when people who don't understand education in the way of like being in the classroom, some things never change. Like I think all kids, want to learn, they want to be there, they want to succeed. And then all the other things around them are changing. So I think whenever I get down about the curriculum, and I think that's, after teaching for many years, is that I see it all come around again, and I'll think, you know what, this has never changed. This constant of children really do want to do their best. They really do want to learn, and I think that's what. Even in the midst of, okay, you did this last year, this curriculum, now completely change what you're doing. And it's your fault, the teachers, because you didn't teach it to fidelity or all those buzzwords. And I just keep, I guess keep your eyes on the prize, the things that, motivated you and excited you about teaching in the beginning, to keep your eyes on those, because that's not going to change. So keep doing what the constant is, I think.
I would say definitely to piggy right back off of that. It's very 100% true. Like also like there's a sense of like societal pressure as well of like, oh, why become a teacher? You can become like a lawyer or a doctor, and it's all these other high professions. But I think with the highlight education, it's like you have to really like someone has to teach you those things and really kind of best equip you with those. And also like with along the lines of curriculum that Miss Cantwell said as well is like yeah, this kind of it's especially with like English or different other languages, very like heavy curriculum, especially with childhood education, and also the same with secondary education, and definitely with bilingual curriculum is kind of like there's certain quotas that a lot of teachers have to meet, and then like and sometimes as well you have to kind of like do everything along the flies. And this is kind of like how to kind of really have that for like everyone as well. But I would say to kind of further my point is definitely like with teaching, and it can be kind of like have a lot more demotivation, but I think what the motivation is that we have the superpower to kind of mold kids and really guide them with the best support, and especially like with bilingual as well, is to kind of have that factor in and really challenge those thoughts and like really implement different languages and different other things, and definitely in childhood education and also with secondary education.
Wonderful. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for those insightful responses. And then now we're gonna transition very quickly from here into our next section on teaching advocacy at an international scale. This is a topic that I've engrossed myself quite deeply in. I was part of the high level political forum delegation last year, and I got the chance to shadow and even intervene at many UN meetings across fields in education, specifically tying to education and employability. Uh, and then obviously, like with the recent developments, close to 44 million primary and secondary school teachers are required globally to meet any of the targets established in 2030. So 44 additional primary and secondary school teachers. Additionally, there's a 4.38% increase in teacher attrition rate. So the ability of teachers to actually stay in their professions and to sustain them for a long time. Uh, it is a concerning development. And then alongside that, close to 85% or plus of countries have reported teacher shortages within just a year from 2022 to 2023, immediately post pandemic. So I guess my question to both of you, to the best of ability, is how can we advocate as students, as community members across the world? How can we advocate for teachers on the international stage or even on the local stage, for that matter? And what demands do you feel are most urgent and should be raised? We can have Jordan first since you finished it, and then we can go to Mary.
Yeah, so I would say definitely on an international scale. It really depends on per region. I think teaching in mostly in Europe and the Middle East, it's a little bit more different because you have different regulations and different other things vary by country. But I would say definitely what's like the most urgent demands is definitely having a lot more parents and a lot more community members to really be more involved. And that can be more of like, hey, like more school supplies, or hey, I need some more kind of more like responsive for students, and also kind of getting more accessibility for X amount of kids or X amount of students, because like for different things like teachers can and can do. And also with curriculum too, because also like things are very more standardized, also making more accessibility within those standardization of those curriculum. We be best equipped, and also like to have more of a consistence of like teachers, and like maybe also with the government and also with the administrators as well, to kind of mitigate those kind of discrepancies with teachers. And also with post-pandemic, I was a teacher right when COVID kind of subsided a little bit, but also seeing a lot of big gaps within that, and then seeing a lot more marginalization between that, because there's with teens as well, and also with with younger students as well. It's like the sociability with that, and also kind of try to like verbose their thoughts, or trying to like have more critical thinking. And I think what to best advocate for teachers definitely on the international stage is more voice, more volume, and more local kind of organizations to really put more like not just funding, but more kind of a different way of thinking about education in different comprehensive ways, whether it's online or versus in person, and definitely get into more of like the advocacy in your community as well.
Yeah, it's again an excellent question, and I think I've been thinking about it now. When they say, "Oh, teaching will be around forever," and you think now with AI, which I don't know a lot about it, but I can think about the time when we were during COVID and we were teaching online, and how parents were just, "Oh, it was great in the beginning. Thank you for standing up, teachers. I don't know how you do it every day." We got all that praise, and then um, as soon as that happened, it also was, we can also be to blame, oh, teachers weren't doing this. This is how I would do it. And with the uptick in homeschooling, and I think we've lost some of the respect that we had before. I think I know when I teach international children, a lot of their parents would never question a teacher, whereas some parents in America are quick to say, why this, why not this, why not this. So especially when now they think, well, AI can just teach my children, and I've seen that more and more cropping up. I can put my child in front of a computer for an hour or two, and they can just teach my child. But I think that means that they don't understand what happens every day in school. Why is your child in school for 8 hours? It's that they're not just being fed information, that they're working on it. They're asking other children, just like, how people who work in at home want to, hang around the water cooler and talk about something. I think children want that social aspect too, and they need that downtime to think about it. So we're not, I think, people understanding more about what happens in school and in the actual classroom and what teachers are trying to do. might help. I don't know how that would happen, but I guess it starts with trust and not people thinking, oh, yeah, AI will solve the problem. I can just put my child on a computer. Because I think if COVID taught us anything, it showed that, you know, from the little kids on up to teenagers, they needed, humans are social beings. We need that social interaction, and that teachers hold children accountable in a way that I think, AI, and we make so many decisions on the fly, oh, I know you have this, you need longer on that. So let me, direct, you're going to work on this, you're going to work on that. Whereas I don't think, children are as accountable when it's just a computer, just feed me, it's very passive. And I like to teach, especially young children, in an active way. So, okay, we'll go and draw that or talk about it or build it. And so I'm hoping that, we can kind of get the respect and not just think AI will solve the problems that teachers can't, and that they're smarter or can do different things. I think there's a place for everything, but hopefully that they see what teachers provide. And then in that turn, we may be respected for that.
Thank you.
And
Thank you both. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jordan.
yeah, and definitely to really pay quickly to like kind of like add additional point, and also school is really for children to like challenge their thinking as well. Like, if someone has a disagreeing point, or if like there's a different way to teach it, and then other peers can teach as long like along with them as well, and like throughout these hour long days, especially when it gets to the more about higher grade levels as well, and try to kind of think more critically, and also set up more success for the outside world when they can apply what they learned, or they can kind of like share more ideas as well. If a computer is going to feed them information, they can feed them a whole type of content that like a normal human being can teach them as well, and also values as well. Like as well, the first impression of a teacher as well can like go a long way for a lot of students as well.
Absolutely, and thank you both for your amazing sort of responses and the way you've made it so concise. The importance of active learning and the importance of collaboration on education from different perspectives around the world is absolutely important. There's a lot of wonderful points being made in the chat about testing protocols and so on and so forth, and we will address all of them very at the end, and all the wonderful points being made. But now I want to transition to Omar, who will bring us with our next question on lifelong learning for educators. Omar, you can take it away.
So, so our question here is like, what does lifelong learning look for educators themselves? So like because there are like there's a difference between like educators who have just taught for like 2, 3 years, and then there's a difference for educators who have taught like 20, 30 years. So like I want to see like how that difference would look, and we want to see how that difference would look, and if it would affect children differently or not, in your opinion.
Well, I think that that's something that now I see is missing. Like when I was a young teacher and just starting off, I learned more by going in master teachers classes than I ever learned in anything in my, education classes. To see even just a glimpse of, oh, that teacher does this during transitions. Oh, I never thought of doing it that way. I think sure we can learn from books and learn the curriculum, but going into a teacher who's been teaching for many years is really helpful. On the other hand, I also think that young teachers, I had a different kind of enthusiasm, I think. Like, oh yeah, let's just try this. And, you don't get the stuck in the rut. So I think that we both benefit from each other, that, master teachers or people who've been teaching for a long time also get enthusiasm from new teachers that are bringing a new kind of look on it, whether it's the technology side or being closer to the fact that they did experience that and what it looks like. So I think that lifelong learning could be studying a curriculum and learning a new way to do things and professional development, but it can also be just walking into another teacher's room, whether they're been teaching for many years or they're bringing a new enthusiasm to the classroom.
Yeah, and I would say definitely, I think Ms. Cantwell has a little more experience than I do, but I would say definitely with teaching is with education in general, like ever building block of knowledge, and then teachers is like their main like passion is to kind of learn and gain knowledge and to pass it on. And I think this is a very like learning moment because like with different with students learn it really differently as well, and then kind of apply what they learn. Because in school, during universities, like yes, like, it's clear and cut, but the practicality of it and to kind of learn it and apply it is very different. And I think you're learning every single day of like what works, what does not work, and what and learn from each other's colleagues, and definitely like apply this online and virtual. So it's different moving parts on a moving train, that I like to put it. And it's definitely like a more very a learning cycle for a lot of educators. And then I think that what really motivates myself, and I hope other educators as well, to kind of apply more knowledge and learn new information from students and vice versa.
Absolutely, and thank you, Omar, for introducing the question. Uh, Very briefly, I know Linda brought this up, but Mary, if you could elaborate on like what a master teacher is, and like sort of like because I know the term was sort of being brought around between the difference in experience levels of teachers. If you would just want to delve into that, since you've kind of been in that category yourself.
Well, I think I was combining mentor teacher and somebody who's been, experienced. So I guess I'm thinking of mentor maybe. Usually, when you're a new teacher, you're provided a mentor. I have seen that kind of going back and forth now. A lot of people don't do it anymore. And I know it was helpful for me. When I was able to like, lean on somebody, how to do report cards, how to, you don't want to be bothering, the administration every time. So, but then you also learn from other teachers too. So just somebody who's maybe mastered a part that you have not. So, that lifelong learning is, maybe I'm not great with transitions, or maybe I need, more help with this. And so they might have mastered that skill. So you go in there and you say, how do you do this? And I think that's what I mean by they've mastered a certain skill that maybe you're still as a teacher, like, oh yeah, I could use that little work, or it's a new thing, right? It's the, AI curriculum or the iPad that they have mastered, and that you're like, okay, I need a little bit more help with this. And that's something. So it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody who's been teaching a long time. It's just that they have that skill and they have it down. They don't even know that they're doing it. But just you going in and watching it can add to your classroom skill.
Absolutely. So now we are going to transition into another question regarding how does education look like, and then I'll let Lemohang, if she's able to connect, because she helped us draft a lot of these questions, and I'll piggyback it to her to sort of elaborate on this point. If she's, give me a moment. All right. Well, she's not. Yeah, she's not here. She joined. She was in and out of the waiting room. Uh,
I can take that part over.
yeah.
Basically, we've spoken and I've heard quite a bit about how, many of the factors that come in burnout are from other factors, like the administration kind of pushing this one curriculum or pushing this one expectation. So if we allowed teachers' growth to be more flexible and we measured teachers' growth and tried to make it as personal as we make student growth, what do you think education would look like? Uh, Either one of you can start. Maybe Jordan, and then Miss Cantwell can go first on the next one.
Yes, so I would say like how we measure like teacher growth definitely is yes through like what administrator says like results, but I think it's like what the student takes away from it, and also what the student kind of retains and what they can apply kind of like later, and like when they kind of get more into like 10th grade or like 11th grade or 12th grade. Then how to kind of keep that student growth is definitely kind of managing kind of like all these different curriculums, and definitely try to like balance those things and also kind of yes produce the results, but what they actually took more knowledge, what they learned more or learn more different ways that I didn't know how to teach, and become more of a better teacher in that way as a young teacher, and also to have them to be more accessible with different methods of teaching ways and find different loopholes as well. But I think it's to kind of get them more engaged than much as possible, than just producing more and more results as administrators will kind of do as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought a lot about this and been asked, but then, we are told, oh, well, let's just get data, let's get data. And you can make data look anything you want. You can make data, depends on how good the test is, right? And if you're not giving the same test, then you're not showing any growth. So, we have tests that show for early childhood phonics, so the skills that you need to read. But the test keeps moving the benchmark. So if you test in the beginning of the year, those children that got a zero by the middle of the year, they may still get a zero because the test has moved. So the benchmark keeps moving. So it doesn't show what a teacher has taught and even what the child has learned. So I do think that the most growth I can show, I often tell parents, is when I bring out their writing. When I bring out a child's writing at a parent conference and show them this is what your child could do, and it's scratch marks or, kind of just a drawing, and then slowly show how the progression happens, it can be very eye-opening to parents. Wow, that is something. It's not just learning to write their name, but it's, oh, in the beginning they wrote D, for the sound dog. And that's a picture of a dog. And then slowly it's like the dog or the dog barks. And, slowly it becomes more and more, what we think of as writing. And so I think that is something that we've tried to invest in portfolios for students. I've seen it happen in DC. We're trying to do it again, but it takes a lot of work and it also takes money. And again, that's every teacher getting that portfolio from year to year to show the growth. But I think, and then that would look different for every child, right? Every child would be on their grade on where they are. So I try and tell parents that they're going to make a year's worth of growth. So if they couldn't put paper to pencil, theirs might be look different than somebody who's already writing when they entered that grade. So, but it would, be very specific to that child. So I think that portfolios, a teacher can be really proud or see, oh, I made, there was a gap here. I should have pushed this child more because they were ready for it. So I think if we were really invested in what growth looked like, I think that portfolios takes a lot of work. Probably that includes money too. But it's a real investment in the progress that a child makes over the year.
And definitely, I would piggyback off of that as well for a bilingual curriculum as well. Like there's certain like standard like thresholds they have to meet, and then like how I measure it is like if the student can like measure like the type of speed I'm teaching in a different language versus like their like non-native language, and then they can comprehend and actually do the assessment or do the task at hand, and really trying to guide them along without any further assistance or my other secondary teacher as well to give other assistance. So it's like a kind of benchmarker, like, and they want results. But I think with stats and with everything as well, it's like it can be moved. And then with and also sitting down with the parents as well and like kind of sharing those thoughts as well through a bilingual curriculum. And sometimes the parents don't have the resources to like hand them off in their like non-native language as well. But I think to kind of give resources and to kind of apply what they know and have like students to kind of to express themselves more and like have those necessary equipment and materials to further their education in their non-native language as well.
Yeah. So thank you both for your responses. Really quickly, I want to go back to Omar because he had another question, but the slide kind of had issues with that. So Omar, if you just want to sort of, I'll go back to the previous slide if you want to complete your thought there.
All right. So another question that we did have, which is a bit different, but kind of has to do with this, is what do caregivers like what part do they have? Because we know that like teachers are like very important when we want to complete like SDG 4 by 2030, but they're not the whole part. Like caregivers, like parents and guardians and whatever else, they need to like they need to like have a part in they need to have a part in like help to support the teachers or teaching their kids. So what do you think like how can caregivers like help towards this SDG goal, and like how would like teachers like you guys empower them?
Oh, do you want to go, Miss Cantwell? Okay. Great. I would say like I think the caregivers have just about equal role as a teacher, honestly, because it's like the kids does stay like 8 hours a day in school, but I think the caregivers and the guardians really have a really big influence of how they kind of value education and really like invest and definitely like it shows when parent teacher conference rolls around and also with report cards and definitely like seeing a different attitudes as well and meeting the parents and taking the time to invest in the kids education as well, and I think caregivers is really just really be involved in school board meetings, also be involved with kind of with data and also with kind of like how they're interacting with other children, other kids, or other students and other teachers as well, and like what's their strengths and weaknesses, and can you kind of help them out with resources where can you providing at home, and I think they have a just as amount of equal value and also equal amount of like impression as well as a teacher.
Wonderful. Thank you guys for that.
Yeah,
And then,
oh,
sorry, go ahead. Go.
that's
Sorry. Oh, sorry.
that's
I'm so
okay.
sorry, Mary. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just add a few things. I do think that I like the way you said that the caregivers are, the guardians of the child, and that teachers are the teachers, right? I mean, I consider myself a person who cares about child, but I'm not their primary caregiver. And I do like the, professional term of a teacher, so that parents can say, oh, you are their teacher. And there's a certain respect that they have for that, I'm going to listen to you for matters of academics or education, and not necessarily, oh, what did they have for lunch or what did they do? Because there is a fine line there that, yes, I will care for your child and make sure all of those things and all those needs are met. Because if those needs are not met, they can't really, perform. But on the other hand, it is up to the caregivers to make sure their child is there, is ready for school, and then I can take it from there and the other teachers or counselors who are at the school. But counting on us for everything is really, really hard because, I think parents forget that we are there to teach their child how to read, how to write, how to calculate. And that is a lot of work. And that if their child isn't, ready for all of that, there is going to be a hard time, and we're going to try our best. But there's always going to be things that we can't account for. But their responsibility for that child, getting them as ready as they can be for all of that, is really important. And that I think if they think that it's very important, and we trust them to do it, I think there's a mutual respect there that, hey, we need you guys to help us. And also to see what it is like that their child is going to be, should be able to do by the end of the year, whatever grade that is. I think parents are shocked that, like, oh, my child's supposed to be reading, my child's supposed to be doing this in kindergarten. I just thought it was playtime, or and it's like, no, no. So the more there can be a respectful way to do that, and we hold them to a great respect because you are the child's parents, and then the other way around is that we're their parent, we trust you, you're their teacher, we're going to hear what you say, we're not going to expect it to be all sunshine and roses. Sometimes it is going to be hard, and we're going to take that and say, oh, okay, let me, we're going to really work on this part, or really going to really work on that part. So I think all that comes together. But as if we both have know what our responsibilities are, I think it would be, to the benefit of the child.
Thank you, thank you. So now moving on to one of our last questions, which is the role of students in quality education. Now, we did have a speaker for this, but um, unfortunately she was absent. So I want to give this one to Lemo Hong since she wasn't able to take the first question. Lemo, if you want to elaborate on this point, and then we can piggyback it to our guest speakers.
I'm so sorry. Can you repeat? I had to take a step out. Can you repeat your question, please?
So I I think Lemo was supposed to take this part, but she's having
Um,
internet. Yeah.
Greetings, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. I think, in order to answer this question, as I was saying,
Arush, can you put it back to the other slide?
Uh, it should be. Wait,
Oh,
hold on.
never mind. You got the right slide. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So apologies for this. There's been like internet difficulties on both ends here. If we just want to sort of, if both of you want to take a chance, just at the question and your initial thoughts on, just the role of students in general, along that. So, Mary, if you want to go ahead first, and then Jordan next.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I guess accountability, but again, for early childhood, it's very hard to to show that. But I think just the idea that students, I always tell them, it might be hard, and that this is going to be hard, and treating them honestly and with as much, but also the expectation that they can do things that are hard, and that we acknowledge how they're feeling, so that I think that then they can grow into that role. So it's, yeah, putting it in the early childhood where I picture children is a little bit harder, because I think, oh, it's more on us to show them. But then I guess it's also that kind of respect that, now you're in school, this is, you're a student, and, we talk about that a lot. And so I guess um, we talk about, older kids having grit and getting through things and working through things. And they show that that's the, sign of people who can succeed. And I think being honest with kids and doing a lot of that social emotional learning, but I think it can be done in a way that's not so obvious. I think students are very, even at a young age, like, oh, here goes that lesson on this, but reading books about it. I love using literature to show students who've overcome adversity, or who are, from different backgrounds, and what they have done. And then I think that students can say, oh, okay, that, I think I could do it too. And that's the importance of showing so many different diverse, books and stories, because then they can see themselves in that. If a student doesn't see themselves in that role, then they're just going to think, well, that was that person. It's not me. So I think we talk a lot about, these buzzwords, but actually doing it, I think good teachers have been doing it forever, right? Reading lots of different stories to children, and the reason why those stories hold up is because that they do show that kind of grit and perseverance, and children know when something's real. They don't think, yo, I'm just teaching this once a month to, satisfy the social emotional learning. It's just, it can be woven into everything, a writing prompt, science, history, anything. So I guess it's hard, but I think the role of the students is just like everybody else's, to be accountable and to learn from things.
Yeah, like I think I took it like a little bit in a different direction a little bit. I think a bit with representation a lot of the time. I think that was a lot of like what Miss Cantwell said, a lot of like with kind of doing more of the social emotional labor, but also kind of saying like if students kind of come, and especially on the secondary level, it's like a lot more kind of I would say definitely like emotional and more social kind of atmosphere and kind of really kind of they want to express more of their thoughts and it's kind of like but a lot of the system kind of put them suppressed it a lot of the time and kind of like and like want to regurgitate kind of different things and definitely when they get to 12th 11th grade and it's when testing season in college and universities and they have to kind of like write about them and their education journeys and definitely kind of helping as an English teacher really trying to like help them develop narratives about themselves and how they are a student and how they can be advocacy for them and definitely in a bilingual spectrum as well of kind of teaching them like different words, different expressions and different adjectives they can use as well and trying to add more layers and context to them as well. And I think as a student and have advocacy for the education is definitely try to really speak out and really try to like reach out and to your educators or to your other students of kind of like what they're kind of struggling with and also with other counselors and also the teacher that they form a very strong emotional and bonds with and to really kind of like hone in those skills once they kind of leave the secondary education realm into adult education as well when they get to university because I think once they kind of reach that it's kind of on their own to kind of develop the skills from K through 8th and definitely after like high school as well to kind of like what all the teachers they learned from previous years and what they kind of took from it and how they can verbose or vocalize their expressions as well. So
Sorry. Yeah, thank you guys for that. And yeah, absolutely. I think it's not just a one-way street. Students and educators both have an equal responsibility when it comes to education, when it comes to providing it, and really embracing it in so many ways. So now, I know, Jordan, you had a few points you wanted to make on your experience as an educator and as an ESL teacher and teaching abroad. So you can take it away.
yes, so I will try to make this a little bit concise, but these are some like kind of questions I want to give to you guys as well, kind of as an educator or as students or grad students all across the board as well, kind of some of these questions of like how like my kind of thoughts when I was joining a collab as a mentor as well. It's kind of like how developing and instructing bilingual curriculum kind of how do educators adapt and transform the classroom. This could be many ways of kind of how non like for example, how non-English speakers kind of deal with kind of conversations, how we can apply those, and like definitely in like a different international context, like with Cambridge, IELTS, etc., and like et cetera, and definitely being an ESL teacher as well, and kind of like navigating those things, and also with British English and American English, yes, they're kind of almost the same, but there's different things that need to be applied, and having those different curriculums and how we can like verbose their kind of more their non-English skills and then kind of apply it to them and also doing with direct translations and also doing certifications with those as well. So these are some questions like I want to ask you guys as well or keep in mind in the back of your mind. Also to my second point is with international classroom and environments and also being an American teacher is definitely very more rigid than versus kind of teaching in Europe or in the Middle East is a little bit more flexibility is more on more of like the administrator is not really breathing on your neck, like I would say, but it's more of like how like we can collab with other different teachers and how to kind of do things like that. And my question is for you guys to think about is like how do educators and advocates develop tools and resources when instructing bilingual coordination, also with doing with different coordinations with the law in different countries as well, and how the teachers kind of navigate those situations, and especially with my experience is definitely with teaching in America and also like with laws and legislations in America, it's a little more restrictive and it's more like testing data and regarding per state too, which is different states are really different and versus where it's in the EU or not EU is a little more polarizing, I would say. And then what they need to teach, but it's also based on kind of like what the teacher wants to kind of provide in those contexts. And definitely my last point is accessibility assistance and unifying with the local collab. I think when in my second year teaching ESL and also English abroad in Europe, it was definitely something was really missing. And I think when I joined the collab was definitely kind of like the first bullet point underneath that is the quality education develop a comprehensive and versatile topics to focus on when creating lesson plans. And when teachers are creating lesson plans, it's very, very essential to kind of add very diverse like diverse teaching methods, but also diverse methodology. And also with kind of applying those methodology, does it work? Does it work on an international scale? Does it work online? Is it kind of like mostly like where kids are not don't have to use AI? They can like not have to be shoved into technology. And this is kind of why I kind of joined the collab. It's the next generation after me, even though it can be like even though I'm like a little bit younger, but even the next generation can like I can learn a lot for them and I can learn how to apply more differently as I become more of a veteran teacher, as they say. And then my like kind of last point is I think it's the most important one is um what does that process looks like in to like future educators and parents and how do they kind of do that and kind of how to vocalize that and also with like the bilingual coordination kind of doing with that is like how do we kind of like give more of a kind of different perspectives from like different countries and how they kind of apply it. And I think with meeting Aruj and Soyan and all other students as well, it really opened my eyes of like this is like a really team effort and global education is not really up to our like political leaders. Yes, they make kind of like the bigger decisions, but it's really up to the community to really hone in together because the people are the voice and not, and then kind of going towards like education as well and preparations and lesson planning. And yes, there are tough days and there's social aspects as well. But my general kind of experience teaching abroad is like people like me who look like me and to empathize and do everything to kind of like be more educators and really trying to because education is important and this will save many lives because people have to teach and people have to learn different things and forever grow. So this is kind of mostly my points and my questions to you guys to think about, or you can reply as well. But yes.
Wonderful. Jordan, you explained that perfectly, and it was really great. Before we move on to our final section, I do want to shout out Miss V and Katya, two of our very like long-standing teachers here at the collab. They've been on fire in the chat. So many different viewpoints, so many different perspectives, and just so much experience. So shout out to both of you. You guys have been great. Katya was my first mentor here at the Education Hub, and I'm like forever grateful for that. And Miss V, constantly every all hands meeting, she's always always on top of things and always on informative of so many educational issues. So thank you both, and feel free to interact in the chat as well. Finally, I want to give it to Omar to lead our next section, which was open to all of you. So, Omar, do you want to help out with our Q&A section?
Yeah. Looking through the chat, let me quickly. So, we've been dropping questions in the chat. Let me choose one. Yeah, there's been a lot. Um,
Omar, if it's easier, you could just ask to raise hands if you want. So if you guys have any
yeah, let's do
questions,
that.
yeah. just raise your hand on Zoom, and there should be an option there
Yeah.
for the speakers or for anyone here, uh, and they'll be glad to answer. Or otherwise, you can put it in the chat, whatever's more comfortable.
I have a
Anything?
question.
Yeah.
It's Linda.
Yeah.
Um, so I was scrolling on Facebook, which I really am not proud of, yesterday. But I there was a hearing on Capitol Hill that I mentioned in the chat about the role of technology with education, and I really wanted to try to find the I'm going to find this one of the people who was testifying and share it with you later. But it was quite disturbing about how much they've been monitoring. I'm trying to remember students' critical thinking skills and learning skills over like 50 years or 100 years. I don't know. It was a long period of time. And this is the first generation where that's gone down um, since we started to use technology in the classroom like 2010. And it's really interesting data. So I'm going to share that with you. And I guess I would just ask any of our teachers. We've got Jordan and Mary here, but also Katya and Vicky, how much you feel technology is helping versus hindering students' critical thinking.
I promise to keep this as concise as I promise to keep this concise, period. Uh, I am secondary certified in the US, and I have taught in my 26 years grades 6 through 12. So for the US, that means students between the ages of 11 and 18, because I know that looks different in different regions of the world. And one of my greatest concerns, and I dropped an observation in that, is the ease and convenience that I often hear people supporting and advocating when they lean into the ideas of using AI. And I am a supporter of those things. The concern for me is something becomes a tool when I have a foundational understanding. It becomes my crutch when I don't. And that's the challenge for me. Not that I do not support students leveraging AI as a tool, but as I am seeing more and more students coming through the educational system, the US, I've heard similar commentary from my colleagues in London and Paris. I have a partnership in 2 schools in Brazil. So this is something I've heard discussed globally for educators. That for me is where
Oh, we just lost her. She might come back,
Yeah.
but let's move on to other. Oh, there you are, Vicky. And it's broader than AI. I was thinking technology in general, like bro including AI, but much broader than AI. Um, thank you, Vicky. Other thoughts, Mary, um, Jordan, Katya.
No, I think Ms. V put it really well. We always say, oh, we're using it as a tool, using it as a tool, but she's exactly right. And that goes for everything. That goes for all students. We want, them to, when you're in school, you're supposed to be developing those skills so that when you're an adult, you can say, oh, yeah, no, Wikipedia is not right here. And you can distinguish between them. That's what critical thinking is, to be able to look at both points of view and say, this is why I think this is why I think this. So I think the more we do that to students and make it relevant to them and say why we need to do that, to be well read, to understand all different points of view is the reason that then they can be informed adults and not have AI or technology rule them, but they use AI or technology as the tool. So I think that was a good way of putting it.
All right.
Uh, Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Omar.
Do we have time for one more question?
Yeah, we can fit it in very quickly. We're a little
Yep.
bit past time, but it's fine.
All right, Sonia, you had a question, and would you like to say it?
Yeah, sure. So basically, at my school, over the last couple of years, and I think like Linda, you mentioned how this generation or like the newest generation is kind of seeing like maybe lowering test scores, and I think that I've also seen a lot online about how there's generally like worse behavior as a result of social media or like technology and access to the internet from a very young age. And I think at my school we've seen that a little bit in terms of some students behaviorally. And I've seen a lot of my teachers, like my freshman year teachers and stuff, they've gotten a bit more burnt out. And it wasn't like my grade was particularly well behaved or perfect either, but it's just like only gotten kind of worse. So like on the local level, like as like an insider or someone that's kind of like firsthand to this, what would you want your students to be advocating for? Like what issue should I take up with like the school board to say like we should be providing this for teachers?
I think that I was just speaking with my sister who teaches English in high school, and she has noticed a remarkable difference in the way that students interact with each other when phones are put away for the day. It's if it's put away for just the class period, they're constantly, ready to, pounce on it. But when it's put away for the day, it's like out of sight, out of mind. In a way, it takes, but she has noticed, a remarkable difference in she doesn't have to say, put that away. Or if she even said, like, if a child's staring off into space, it's not because they're, on there or looking off, they're looking on their screen. It's maybe they're processing it, right? And or daydreaming or what students are supposed to be doing. So she doesn't have to give that a thought of should I be checking. So it allows teachers to be concentrating on the other things, the things that they were supposed to be doing. And I think for students, it's the same thing, instead of like, oh, who's texting me? It's, oh, wow, even if they're not paying exact attention to the teacher, they're processing something from another class. So I think it allows people, and sometimes we have to do that, So yes, pressuring, school boards and whoever makes the rules to at least allow students the chance to decide that or to see what it's like. And then if, it decides that it's not, but I think just allowing that choice of maybe we could try this for a while and see what happens, I think is good.
I think like I just wanted to kind of add on to that really quickly because of what I've been seeing at my school. Because in California, they recently passed this bill by like next year or next school year, we need to like take kids' phones away in class. And my school and like my district has like technically started implementing that now, but I've seen that a lot of teachers don't really enforce that. Like they tried for like the first week of school, but then like a lot of kids, like if the teacher wasn't counting the phones, they would just keep it in their pocket. So for pretty much like 5 out of 6 of my classes, that's kind of gone out the window. But I think in my like final class, which is psychology, I put this in the chat a little bit. But she like doesn't allow phones or just any technology in class. Like we don't even use our school Chromebooks. We just kind of like use the textbook. We do the worksheets, and we also like listen to the lessons whenever she talks through the content. And I think like psychology has the best test performance out of all my classes. And I think on average, people are getting like an A or a B on the tests. And I think something that she does really well in the class to kind of adapt is we have like a 1 story building. So a lot of the times we go for like a 10-minute walk because our periods are 95 minutes long. So we go for like a 10-minute walk to kind of clear our heads and stuff. And I think it's really good. But I also see a lot of what you say where if it's only one class period, kids are so ready to get their phones back because our school day ends at like 2:40 p.m. and she lets us get our phones back at 2:38 p.m. And like at 2:37 p.m., kids have formed like a crowd around the phone caddy and are just like waiting for the second it turns 2:38 to get their phone back. So I think like if there was like more enforceability on whatever on like keeping phones and like not just like kids put it up as like some kind of honor system because like in like the classes where we leave it up to the kids, like I always put my phone up, but like in a class of 23 kids, it's like 5 to 7 kids who put their phone up. So I think like the no phones rule I think has actually been good for kids' retention and paying attention in class, however annoying it is to the rest of us. But yeah, I just want to piggyback on that because I think it's a genuine good thing for classrooms.
I dropped mine in the chat in interest of the time because I want to honor the
Yeah, and I mean, if we wanted, we could have had this for another hour, but like there's just been so many really good questions here back and forth. Um, Qualitative outcomes to determine mastery, absolutely. Um, so really quick, because we do have to close eventually. Um, if so yeah, we can't really get to all the questions right now, obviously, but really quick before we go, just like some closing remarks as we leave. So firstly, thank you all for joining. This was one of the most informative discussions I've been a part of, and certainly a lot of educators here and a lot of people that have delved in education for so long, and it's really nice to hear their perspectives, both as speakers in Mary and in Jordan, but also from the perspective of Katya, from Miss V, and from all of all of your wonderful perspectives as well. This has really been great to moderate. It's been great to hear from all of you, and a special thanks to Miss Cantwell and Jordan as well for taking part and preparing for such a lengthy discussion. Linda, if there's anything you want to add as our boss, as the collabs sort of spearhead, anything that you want to conclude with?
No, but I just want to say thank you everybody for this great webinar. I really appreciate it. It was very interesting. And thank you both Mary and Jordan for speaking. And I'm so glad we had additional teachers here, including some of our great mentors, Katya and Vicky and Arush, you and Sonia and Omar and the others did a fantastic job. And Zhao, you're a great mentor. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for
It was
joining
great to
the
talk with